Welcome back to the Guitar Learning Show. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Bob.
And this is part 2 of my new pedal board build.
Behold its glory.
I'm not sure it's big enough.
Well, you know, it doesn't take the whole table, so you have some room to grow.
True. Now this is just going to stay here in the studio. This isn't going anywhere. And
you would not want to travel with this board.
No, it's a little, yeah. And obviously we can fit more pedals on this board, so we'll see.
But this is the kind of board, though, that you keep in your studio. I mean, it's all finished wood. It's well made. It's
Absolutely.
It's like a piece of fine furniture.
Yeah.
With really cool pedals on top of it.
Yeah, and I did want something that had a nice look and that would house a few pedals.
Yeah, a couple.
Without them being, all crammed in.
Well, exactly.
But I can't speak for what this is going to look like in, a year or two.
No, this is your final pedal board.
Yeah, and this is the last guitar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't you kind of walk us through your signal path?
All right, so the path starts with the way huge swollen pickle fuzz. There's absolutely nothing going before that.
But I mean, it comes in to one of the side jacks of the board, built into the board, and then goes
exactly.
Into, yeah.
Yep. And then from there, it's going into the tuner, and then going into the compressor. And other than the fuzz, I mean, the tuner is pretty much always on. The compressor is mostly on. The only time I don't use a compressor is when I'm using the fuzz. Okay. And there's enough space, it's easy enough to just turn that off with my foot.
Right.
So the compressor then goes into the input of this Quartermaster QMX10, which is a loop switcher that is manufactured by the Gig Rig company in the UK. And the purpose of the Quartermaster is to separate out the signal of pedals that I'm not using. And I think we probably talked a little bit about it in the first video, but I think it's worth revisiting for anyone who may not have seen that one.
And the idea is if you have the traditional daisy chain, right? One pedal going into the other, your signal is always going through all your pedals, whether they're on or off. So it's a bunch more connections. You've got jack connections in and out of each pedal. You've got cable in there in between, and then whatever the pedal itself might introduce, right? Some pedals are noisier than others, especially when you get into distortions and overdrives. And so by using a switcher like this, the signal goes in here and then it only goes out to the pedals that are switched on.
Yep, and I have noticed a large difference in the tone of having them daisy chained together on the previous board versus having mostly the drive pedals, the delay, the chorus running through, and the octave running through the QMX.
Right.
So it's nice to have them separated out.
Less tone suck. Now we come out of the QMX, and where do we go from coming out of the QMX?
We're going to the Electro Harmonix Oceans 11 reverb pedal, which that is similar to the compressor. That is mostly on. I rarely turn off the reverb. And then that's going into the Boss looper. Okay. It's an RC10R, and honestly, this may have some tone suck. Not 100% sure. I could see myself getting a loop switcher for the end of this. Something like maybe a 4 switch that I run vertically, just to run these pedals into to kind of. The reverb not worried about so much, but the loop with the looper, that's not really an always on pedal. That reverb though pretty much is it's always on. Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then you could take it out if you are getting tone suck at all. You could take it out of the loop with that.
Yes. So we've tested a lot of configurations of these pedals, such as the fuzz before and after the tuner, which the tuner is a buffered tuner, and there was enough of a difference to where I decided to have the fuzz before the tuner.
Yeah, and there are definitely fuzzes that can do okay after a buffer or something like that, but for the most part, the best results of a fuzz are always first in the chain.
Yeah, and Josh Scott with JHS Pedals on one of his shows discussing the fuzz says absolutely always fuzz.
Yep.
But I don't think he even had any exceptions. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
I believe there are a few.
Yeah, I've tried a few that I shouldn't say they sound fine after the tuner, or not first in the line. I'm not going to say that they sound better. There's no improvement, but they handle it okay. But not every fuzz pedal's like that.
And I didn't think this one sounded bad. I just preferred it before without anything muddying the water of the fuzz signal. So
we have mostly the winners of our shootout video.
We do.
We did not shoot out a fuzz, but you originally had the Boss Waza fuzz.
I did.
And you've replaced it with the Swollen Pickle from Way Huge.
Yeah, I mean, I watched an Anderton's video where Rabia Masad played a bunch of different fuzzes without knowing what he was playing, and he ended up with the Wazacraft, the Boss Wazacraft fuzz. It stayed on for quite a while. This one stayed on the longest, and he finished with that. And I kind of, I was a little bit influenced by the video and thought, let me order this. If I don't like it compared to the Waza, I can always send it back. And I actually liked it better right out of the gate. Usually with a fuzz pedal, you've got to really crank up the volume to get that effect that you're looking for. With this pedal, I didn't have to have it loud, and automatically I got that sound. I got that nice mid-range fuzz that I was looking for. And so I decided to keep that over the Waza. Although, as I mentioned to you earlier, I could see myself down the road buying the Waza, maybe getting a used one so it's not, $160 pedal, and just to have and maybe switch out between this board or the travel board or whatever. So
oh, that's great. And we could probably do a demo at some point of the Way Huge. And put it through its paces.
That would be fun.
All right. Well, one place. Oh.
Probably the other thing was as we had planned this board to, we discussed the type of cables to use, whether to use pre-made cables, solder versus solderless. And ultimately, I decided it would be nice to have custom cables, so we didn't have extra cable all over the place. And for instance, these front pedals would have required like a 12-inch pre-made cable, and I just didn't want all that extra cable. So right now I think I made these about 9 inches each. And the other thing that was cool about these custom cables is, and these are the Evidence Audio cable connectors, is the cable is very thin, and it's really easy to work with on a pedal board when you're trying to manipulate it around things and work in small spaces. And so I kind of like it, but it remains to be seen how good of a pedal builder I am. So,
so I've used the Evidence Audio. I've obviously used pre-made, and I've used the Planet Waves kit. And the Planet Waves I found is easier to put the ends on, because the way they're designed, you literally just cut the cable off clean, pop the end on, and screw it down, and it punctures the shielding and does what it needs to do. But the Evidence Audio, the cabling itself is so much more flexible. It's not a stiff cable. You have the right angle connectors, and the Planet Waves did not have the right angle. Now the Planet Waves is considerably less expensive. So
these are very expensive.
Yes.
I have probably $600 worth of, not on here at the moment. But I had to buy a little more. So, yeah, I think I bought 3 kits plus an extra 10. About $600, $650, which is more than what the board cost.
Well, the board doesn't. The board looks nice, but it doesn't add to or subtract from tone.
No.
And we can have lots of debates about the the tone quality, and do cables matter. And I can tell you from my experience, cheap cables definitely sound different.
Absolutely. Yep.
The ones you get at the at the guitar store that are in the fishbowl at the cash register that are a couple bucks each. Yeah, those do not sound good.
No, not at all. So at any rate, we thought we would build a cable just to demonstrate how these are made. And
you still have a couple on here with pre-made cables.
Okay, so this is how my kit came. It's the Evidence Audio do-it-yourself solderless patch cable kit. Got a little picture of them on there. There's a ton of YouTube videos on how to work with these and put them together. And so what comes in the kit is this really nice fabric bag, which has the actual cable in it. And as you can see, this is a very thin and flexible and easy to work with cable. And then it comes with this bag of solderless connectors and a little stripping tool, which I did not use that. I used these. And it does pay to make the cable just a little bit longer than what you need, just because of the fact that these are right angle connectors, and you'll need that extra cable just to get them into the connector into the pedal.
You need a little slack to actually move the connector out far enough to plug it in and unplug it.
Okay, so the first thing we do is strip off this black outer coating, and I'm going to strip off about 3/8 of an inch, maybe a little more than that. And you want to be careful to not cut the wire shielding that's right under it. And you also want to be careful to not pull the wire through the jacket, because this is a pretty short piece of wire, so there's not a lot holding it in there at the moment.
Right. You can actually pull it and
and then kind of shorten your cable, which is not ideal since we've already cut it to length. Right. Okay, so you want to get this shielded wire and just get it all and twist it all together and get it out of the way, just fold it back onto the cable. And then there's this black outer jacket, which you can actually just use a fingernail and pull that off. And that will expose the white insulation that's around your copper core.
So the shielding that we just folded back, that's going to be the ground, basically.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
That's the sleeve on the connector, so it's this portion here. That's the ground, and then the actual signal is in the tip.
Yes. So this is just a little too long, and full confession, I didn't measure these. I kind of eyeballed it, and we're going to switch to metric here. But you want this to be about 5 millimeters, and then you want to expose about 2 millimeters of the copper. So trim this just a little bit. And then
now I've made these with the included cutter and the perfect.
That's not horrible.
No, not at all. The stripping off the outer sleeve is the first notch in the cutter, and so it's this first one. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. And then the trimming the insulation is, I believe, the second to the last notch down here. But you squeeze this and it opens it up. You put the cable in there, and then you apply a little bit of pressure, turn it, and pop it out.
Okay, so here we have one end that is ready to be mated with the connector. And so just push that on there. There's no threading, but I do twist it a little bit just to make sure I'm getting it completely on there, because you do want that tip of that copper core to end up in the tip, as you mentioned. And then you want to keep pressure pushing the cable in as you bend this thing to 90 degrees. And then there's a small slot in the cap, for that to go right over your cable. And then you just twist and turn the connector. And there you have one side.
All right.
All right.
Let's do the other
Repeat
side,
the
and then
process.
we'll show the ever important testing process. You don't want to you don't want to find out that the cable's bad after you've plugged it all in, moved your pedals, velcroed everything down, plugged it in, then discover that you messed up one of the connections. So we have a multimeter here, and if you don't have a multimeter, these can be had for, this is a nicer one, but these can be had for next to nothing. I have a one I picked up for, I think, $6 at Harbor Freight. Amazon has a bunch of affordable ones too, because you don't need a lot of fancy functions. You just need a voltage check.
Yep. Which is basically just a
continuity.
Yeah, it's just you know, putting the probe on two of the same connections and listening for a beep. And there we have it.
Perfect.
We shall see, won't we?
Right, we shall see.
All right, Bob's going to test it for us.
Basically, you know, if you see we connect there, we have a connection. So what we want to do is, as I mentioned, the ground is in the sleeve, and then the signal's in the tip. We're going to test the tip, the sleeve, and then we're going to make sure there's no short. So if I do the tips, that works.
All right.
The sleeve.
Success.
Okay. Now the last thing we want to do is, like I said, we want to do like, it doesn't matter which direction. You're making sure that it's not shorted out. So the sleeve into the tip, and we have no beep. So we know there's no shorted out, you know, the signal's not shorted out inside there. So that's a cable, and that's a working cable.
All right.
So we're coming out of the way huge. And then we're going to go into the board.
Well, you called it. That's a good size cable, Bob.
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
So if you're building your board, you just do that about 20 more times.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of that. We still have 4 more cables to build, but we're not going to put you through all that right now.
Compressor's on. We should probably put the noise gate in. Let's actually just real quick background noise check here for the with the noise gate on or off. So that's the noise gate is off because it's running to the loop switcher. It's only on, and there it's on. So this board is an extremely quiet board.
Yeah, well, yes, without any dirt.
We don't have any dirt on, and dirt obviously.
But
creates
you're right,
its own
it is
noise.
quiet.
But there's not the because the other thing you did here that makes a huge difference is you upgraded all your power. You went with the chalk system.
Yep, I did.
So you have all very clean, very isolated power. Because depending on how many boards you've built or what you've done with your boards, or you've probably experienced that where maybe you started out with the daisy chain power supply and some daisy chain pedals, and there's just a constant background hum or buzz sometimes. A lot of that is just gone now because it's everything is isolated power. That makes the biggest difference. The limited distance that everything's traveling, it's only going to the right pedals. It's a great setup. All right, so let's make some
And that
noise.
Chalks is a toroidal power supply, which from the research that I did before buying it, that's a very quiet.
Yes.
My previous power supply was a rock board, which I still have, but I was getting a little more noise than I would have liked, for sure.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. You know, there's a ton of power supplies. You go on Amazon, you can find a ton of them. They're $30, and they say they're isolated. Usually in that situation, the power is isolated, but they have a shared ground.
Yep.
And so it's really not isolated. But it
Yeah.
lets them say it's isolated.
And they really produce some terrible sound, terrible noise. So, all right, we'll go back to this. That noise gate was a little bit slow on the...
Yeah, it was a little slow. It's a new noise gate also, so kind of figuring out the particulars of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's clean at any rate. That's,
Yep.
you know.
But you're always going to get noise when you put a dirt pedal in, because it's pushing the front end of everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's amplifying that signal and it's pushing the front end, so you're always going to get noise with a dirt pedal in the loop. What number do you want? Because I know it's changed
I've got a
little since
relabel.
yeah.
I did change it a little bit.
Yep.
Let's start with the violet. So that'll be number 3.
3, okay. That's such a great pedal. I smile every time I hear it.
That's not terrible.
Nope.
I was running that pedal into the Dane earlier. Let's try that again just for fun. Tumnus.
Oh.
Wow. So the noise gate's doing its thing. When I was touching the strings, it...
Yeah.
I don't like the sound.
Okay. Let's take the Dane out of the loop here. Or do you want to take the violet out and try the Dane? Give it a little more gain. Sounds great.
It's a nice pedal. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really love it.
All right, so what's next?
All right, let's give the Dane a shot.
That was actually the bridge. I'm gonna go start with the neck.
Okay.
I like that reverb.
I do too. I was noticing that.
Just right.
Yeah, it really had a great sound when you.
Okay, that was
the Dane.
That was the Dane.
Yeah, let's give the Tumnus a try. It all sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I can't complain.
No.
How about the Rat?
That's a dark one.
Maybe the OG.
Okay.
That almost gets a little fuzzy there.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I like that.
I do too. It really. All right.
You know, let's do the hard drive.
Sure. Okay, well, thanks for joining us today. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what we got right. Let us know what we got wrong. We want to hear from you either way.
And also, if you have any of the pedals that I have here, let me know what you think of them. Drop us a note in the comments section.
And include your favorite settings.
Oh, yeah. I'll take that too. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. We will see you in the next video.